changes.
Right. Yep. That's
You
the
know,
truth.
so sometimes you find out that maybe it was a dream for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you really weren't going to be that great at it.
Right.
I mean, I don't say that I'm not a good designer. I'm just not at the level of the Paris designers. And that was my dream, was to be a Paris designer.
Mm.
So I would have to devote, and I could be devoting the rest of my life to try to be a Paris designer and may never make it. But I'm really good at PR and marketing, and I believe in the fashion industry, and I know how to do it, and I know how to move it, and I know the market and all that type of stuff. Maybe that's where my dream should have been.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I just shift my radar. I don't look like I'm losing anything. I don't
Right.
think of myself as losing anything, but at the same time, it's like, I believe in this designer. I think she's got great stuff. I think America would like it. I know there's certain markets that are probably not going to like it. I know what her client and demographic is, and I know how to present her because I
Mm-hmm.
believe in Paris designers.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. We walk the path. Many times we don't know what is next. And yet, when you are ready for the next step, whoop, there it is. That's where you go. And it might not be in the direction. And that's true with everybody's life. I think it might not be in the direction that you thought it would be,
Yeah,
but that's okay.
yeah. And I also too, I'm a very controlling person in terms of just me. I don't try to control people around me, but I'm very focused and controlled. I'm in control all times of what I'm doing. And one of the things I decided when I started to do the fashion things was it got so out of hand. I lost control of it, and I
Oh,
mean there was just all kinds of stuff that I just relaxed. And about 2014 and 15, I just relaxed. I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a step back from all of this. Let's take a look at everything that's happening here and see where I want to do my focus. And once I cut out all the noise and just focused again, it just became very crystal clear to me. But a lot of times you get taken on a ride sometimes, and I say it's filled with a lot of noise and clutter, and you're having a great time, but you're exhausted at the same time because it's taking so much from you. One of the things about the fashion industry, which is, and I just say this from my own personal experience, some people have something different, is it's a very empty industry. Everybody just takes.
mm.
It's not a lot of people putting anything back into you.
Ooh, that's a
So you
that's a good
really,
thing. Yes, that's a good thing to bring up. Thank you for that.
yeah, it's you have to really take care of yourself. And there was an interview. One of my favorites is John Galliano, and he did Dior, and he has his own line. But he got fired from Dior, and he lost his line, and for lots of reasons. But he was so drugged out by the time all this stuff was happening. He was
Mm.
completely out of control. And he did one interview when he came back into the public, and it was with Charlie Rose, and he talked about the fact that he was running a $4 billion a year industry. His
Oh,
line alone with Dior and his own was responsible for $4 billion a year. He had to put
wow.
out multiple collections, and he had a whole routine that he got up in the morning with benzos,
Mm.
alcohol, and sleeping pills
Oh
because
man.
just the function. But what he was saying was is that
Wow.
after a while, when people take and take and take from you, you don't have anything else left in you.
Mhm.
You're just empty.
Mhm.
And it's you really. I always tell everybody, when you're caught up and there's just so much smoke and mirrors going on around you, stop for a second and take a look at the situation. Get away from all the noise and all that kind of stuff because it's just the entertainment industry in itself by nature is people trying to make it somewhere. So you're going to always have somebody trying to go over you, claw over you, get over you, do something to get there. You can find that in the business world. I mean, people, business world, you either produce or you don't produce. I mean, like produce, you stay with your job. You don't produce, you're fired.
Right.
The entertainment industry just keeps feeding off of people that don't generally produce, but just sort of kind of take and feed off of others. So it's just, if you don't, you can lose your health. I mean, it's hard, and I'm in nowhere near the type of level that John Galliano was. I would have never made it, and I couldn't do a $4 billion a year type of job and have my sanity. I don't know who could. You know, I mean, I know you have lots of assistants and stuff, but I think it's important that people, when you're chasing your dreams, that you really have one foot on the ground while you're chasing your dreams, so that you're making level-headed decisions as to whether or not this is the right path to be going, and you've got the right people around you. It's all about the team around you.
Right, right. Because that's who replenishes you and takes care of the stuff that you possibly cannot. And I agree with you. And 100%. And the fact that you have to treat self-care as an appointment, or you don't do it, because there's always something to do.
Yes.
And we forget that.
Don't
I think even mothers forget
movement. Don't confuse movement with action.
Oh, that's good. Say that again.
Don't confuse movement with action. So I always tell everybody, take a look at where you're going, because sometimes smoke and mirrors are in everything. They're in relationships. They're in your family life. They're going to be in your friendships. You know, smoke and mirrors are designed specifically to be smoke and mirrors, so that you're not actually paying attention to the situation where you can take action on. And so I always, I'm always looking at situations, because like I said, when I first started to do the fashion designing, I was caught up in a ride. Everybody was having a great time on my dime, but me.
Oh.
And it was just, it was a big party with lots of work, but, the wrong people. I was lucky enough to have some great people around me, but in everything, you're always going to find 1 or 2, 3, 4 people that are just not the right people. And, you have to be smart enough to figure it out. But when you're first starting out and you're trying to make it and you want to make everybody happy around you, you get caught up in all the smoke and mirrors. You don't look at the actual situation. My parents were smart enough to take me aside and take me out and talk to me. And they said, listen, we're all for everything you want to do. We're totally excited. I mean, who gets to do the Emmys, Oscars, and the Grammys for 3 years right out the gate? I mean, you just don't do that. But my dad says to me, he says, you're a very practical person. We've raised practical people. I don't want you to get $400,000 or $500,000 into this and find out it was a hobby and was just a big grand ride. Be smart about it. If you want this as a business, then run it as a business. And when I did that, I stopped and I just looked at everything, and that's when I realized all the smoke and mirrors and the chaos and the drama and everything around me wasn't really action. It was just movement. And I was trying to create action out of all this just movement. And it just gets, like I said, I mean, you just have to be smart. You really, that takes age, that takes wisdom, that takes knowing how to do things. And so on my dream, I've been extremely fortunate with my dream. It's taken me to Paris and back. And I've done things and accomplished things I never thought I would ever accomplish. So and I'm still accomplishing them. It's just, it's made me even more focused. So I just tell, go for it, but be smart about it.
Very good. I really like your whole philosophy. So tell us about, there was something, now I have to find it. There was something on your Facebook page that I wanted to ask you about, but I have to find it. You go ahead with what you were saying while I'm looking.
Oh, I'm not somebody who, I don't want to ever discourage anyone for going for their dreams, because I always tell everybody, go for it, because you don't know what's going to come out of it. The best thing that I can tell anybody is just plan to be surprised. You're going to be surprised.
Right.
Yeah, I just love that. I love that. And I always say my motto in life is just be a work in progress until the day you die. And that way you're always giving yourself a lot of room to keep growing and keep learning and keep experimenting. Just be a work in progress.
Right.
Own it.
Yep. So, what is the journey to myself?
The journey to myself actually started out as a written piece. My mom was getting remarried I think I was in my early 40s. And as she's getting ready to get married, I started having all of these, I don't want to say panic attacks, but just profound sadness coming over me. I was getting so sad, and I couldn't figure out why I was getting so sad. And I realized I was getting sad because my parents were not going to be able to get back together. And mind you, my parents had been divorced since I was 11.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, it's not like there was even a possibility. My dad had been married for 22 years at this point, so it wasn't, and I just didn't know why I was feeling that way. And luckily, I have a very good relationship with my parents, and I really liked the man that my mom was marrying. And I sat down, I talked to them about what was happening, because we would do these rehearsal dinners, and everybody would be looking to me to actually say something. And every time I wanted to open my mouth, all I can do was want to cry.
Aww.
And I just felt I felt ashamed, because I didn't want to ruin my mom's wedding or make her think that I wasn't happy for her and Chris. And so I sat and I talked to Chris about it, and Chris said, Stacey, it's very natural. Aww. And I said, I can't believe this. I'm 41 years old. This is not natural, Chris. And he's like, you're too hard on yourself. And they went on their honeymoon, and I sat down and I wrote a story, and it was called The Journey to Myself. And I've always been the kind of person, I never look backwards. I'm always looking a year ahead. So I never really went back and looked at my life as a journey, basically. And I think a lot of it has to do, and I say this because I've never looked at my life as an age, because I never made the major milestones that a lot of people do. I never got married. I never had kids. And, when people mark their lives, they usually mark them with those two. At 28, I got married. At 33, I got married. So you think of yourself as an age. To me, it's just another year, because I'm just repeating things. I didn't do the major milestones for lots of reasons. But so when I sat back and I went and I looked at that, I started to trace my life to when did I think that the last time, why was I feeling this way? And I started thinking about my parents and when they got married and when they were married. And I realized that when my parents got divorced, it was such a shock to my brother and I, because we never saw them fight. We never saw them be unkind to each other. We thought we were a very happy family. I thought we were. I know my brother thought we were. And so it jolted me. It jolted both of us. And that summer that my parents decided to separate, my mom, wanting to shield us from having to move out of our family home, sent my brother and I for the summer, because back in those days you used to get the summer off from school. And it's like, we went to an Indian reservation in Montana to visit my aunt and my uncle, who we had spent lots of time with already. And that particular summer, I got sexually abused by my uncle. And that's when everything sort of kind of stopped for me at the age of 11. You can see it in my photos that I went from this happy kid, and then my photos start turning really dark at like 12. And I mean, like all black, hair in my face, clothes down to the ground. I stopped modeling. I stopped doing all kinds of stuff, and it just was a different kind of a journey. I call those the dark years, because my parents they divorced, and we went from having a family to just being on our own. And that's a hard thing for kids to do. And so I started thinking to myself, I want to write about that. I want to write about those years. What did that do to me? The journey to myself. And it really starts going over from birth, my childhood,